Alright, a Drakeling Mindcrafter speedrun, starting out looking at the inventory since time starts after name entry. We've got Ring of Damage and Scroll of Identify, which are two of the items that I'd look to start with. Start off switching Ring of Damage to the right ring slot, going into True Berserk. Grab some food here. You'll notice a couple times I use Confusion Blast and then just abort targeting. That's so that I can train concentration a little bit. Of course, heading into Goblin Camp for the items here, particularly the rocks we're going to need later for killing Dwarf Veteran. Technically with Mindcrafter you could also kill Dwarf Veteran and HMV with Mind Blast, but it's a little bit slower, I think. In this case, not such great luck with the items, but at least we got 1 point of PV from the shield. Picking up the apple there, a little bit silly. I do want to check the weapon, but my thought process is, well, I'll get a little bit of food preservation by having decaying food in the inventory. So initial targets for skill increases are concentration and alertness. Concentration's the most important one for getting through early game. I don't use Confusion Blast too much in speedruns, at least relative to how you would normally play Mindcrafter early game, but you don't want to ever be out of power points, that's for sure. So in this case, the blanket was not really in a location that would allow me to get it later, so I got it there. Next up, we're going to get healing. The lawful way. Chaotic way might be slightly faster, but then I would have to put more points into learning. And also, it's kind of arguable whether it would be faster or not, because the chaotic way, you do have to visit Bandit Village a couple times to talk to people. Okay, in this case we got very lucky with the location of Gerard. Sometimes you have to explore around the level to find him. In this case, he was right by the downstairs, so no need to explore VD4, and also we're not going to need to drag Yurig's quite as far. Ouch, and that trap should not have gone off. Or rather, I should have used Wand of Knocking to avoid triggering it, but I'm really not used to it being in inventory, so I tend to forget. Okay, so we're getting Yurig's to follow me, then using Confusion Blast, so it's faster. I can just use walk commands, and also he's not beating me, so he does do a decent amount of damage. And then we just wait by the stairs for him to show up. Okay, there we go. Yurig's healed. Since I don't have a particularly great weapon, I'm switching over to the hatchet. What's likely going to be my weapon for the most risky split is the Eternium hand axe. So a few extra, or maybe just one extra weapon skill in axes overall would not go amiss there. And now that we've grabbed healing, we go back to SMC, so we're going to have to dive through the Unremarkable Dungeon. So Legend Statue on this level, if we can find it, it's nice. Temporary Blessing makes this part a bit easier, but it's not really nice enough that I'm going to explore further to find the Legend Statue. We will get Permanent Blessing relatively soon from crowning. Okay, Displacer Beast, one of the monsters that I like using Mind Blast against because their DV is quite high. Fighting them in melee could be more time consuming and dangerous. And they don't have any magic resistance, so it doesn't matter so much that Mind Blast has bad damage. My prediction there was that would be the tension room, since the door was trapped. You could tell by the doesn't budge at all. And in this case, my intuition was correct. So that wasn't just me forgetting that I had Wand of Knocking. It was actually a good decision to avoid the tension room. Well, extra XP is not necessarily a bad thing. As if you go through UD and just every layout is perfect, then you're probably going to have to waste a bit of time getting to level 11 for the double pre-crown. But still, it is mostly good to go fast and not spend extra time on levels. Okay, my first heal. A combo of Dark Sage plus Troll. Troll has pretty good melee damage, so good spot to not be at very low HP. Okay, so the layout was a little bit strange, so I was doing a bit of a mouse over check to see if there was anything in the bottom left corner. In this case there wasn't, so I know I don't have to worry about secret doors, and can proceed there to the stairs. Okay, so HMV, this is where we're going to get our armor and our weapon. I do check the shop. Luckily that was a friendly rattling warlord. Getting disarmed here is a little bit annoying, although I guess I don't have a great weapon just yet. But if you get disarmed in a shop, and it's a general shop, the shopkeeper will lay claim to the weapon. So we got a second ring of damage there. And I don't know it yet, but that ring of damage is blessed. Okay, so now we're getting the rocks to kill Dwarven Veteran. Not huge rocks though, those are a bit heavy. And in fact, the weight is why I don't pick up the rocks first. In the Paladin run, I collected the rocks before going through UD. Mindcrafter has a bit less strength. Well, actually, it has the worst strength out of any class. So I opt to put it off until later to not be burdened for the first part of the run. Okay, this is pretty much the perfect spot to kill him because he doesn't move around at all. So no need to worry about line of sight or anything, as long as you can see him from 2 away, which is pretty hard for you to not be able to. You're fine. So there we go. You've got the Eternium Axe and the Eternium Chainmail. And a very good Eternium Chainmail. It's normally 11 PV. Earlier I picked up that 100 stone silver helmet. That is always going to be Crown of Leadership, which is pretty good. We're also killing Malicious Doctor for the XP. Tried to hit him from out of line of sight there, but didn't quite pan out. He's a little bit scary with armor punching and poison. And we weren't that close to a river. Okay, so next up, we are getting the Wand of Teleport from this dungeon. You could try saving a bit of time by doing the mouse over glitch, which we're going to use to find the wand before exploring. But I find that is a little bit too nerve-wracking for me. Of course, it would be better if you had if you had Wand of Item Detection or Scroll of Item Detection. But I'm not yet at the point where I'm start scumming for having those in the starting inventory. So gonna spend a bit of time here exploring and then doing mouse over glitch. Okay, so here we go. Even if you haven't explored to a spot, open areas are differentiated from walls. Walls give you that little X on your pointer, and open areas give you, I think, a boot. So we're looking for that to change from an X to a boot somewhere in this unexplored zone, and that's where the stairs are going to be. And, by extension, the Wand of Teleport. There we go. So you can see this would be a bit faster with item detection. So go ahead and label that for later. Another item I like to start with is a Potion of Booze, so you can just immediately charge up the Wand of Teleport. But in this case, we didn't start with one, so I can't do that. Basically, you don't want to wrench the Wand of Teleport, or run out of charges if you really need to teleport a cat or something. Okay, I actually remember to use Wand of Knocking. And earlier there we got a neutral altar. That is quite nice to run into one of those early. I don't think I make the fullest use of it in this run. But in any case, especially having the status on water potions, so that you know when they've been cursed. I do like to have a couple of unholy water potions for cursing potions of invisibility. So knowing exactly which ones those are is nice. In this case, I don't think I had potions of water yet. Dark room there, which is a little bit scary if you end up having to teleport a cat out of the arena, which I think happens in this game. Okay, so we're going through 19 fights right now. We don't want to do the 20th one because that's an extra artifact, which is going to mess with pre-crowning. Fire Beetle Corpse, very good. Getting fire resistance is sometimes an issue with this route, unless you're gonna start Scum for Ring of Fire Resistance. But you have decent chances to be covered against fire damage from crowning and pre-crowning, but it's not guaranteed. So anyway, what this is doing is eventually we'll have Golden Gladius for tactics and backstabbing, and also it's going to give me enough money to deal with shopkeepers and thief guild entry and employ mercenaries. So it's fairly well used time. And you saw there with the cat, that's why I pick up Wand of Teleport when I do, so that I can deal with those showing up in arena. As I am really banking on the power boost from Cat Ring to smooth the end game out. Okay, there we go. We've got cooked lizards. Gonna be the satiation for the rest of the run, and also we need a bit to get settlement to spawn. We're gonna be waiting for quite a few turns there. So I was on that visit chatting into the darkness. If you don't receive a response, that doesn't take a turn, and then you know that a cat's not in that square. Okay, we get acid resistance intrinsically from that giant ant corpse, so not a bad use of time there. So you can sometimes forget how crazy unresisted elemental damage is. As generally in normal runs, you don't have any reason to go without just resistance to everything. But in a speedrun, that can get you into trouble. So there we go. We're waiting 8,000 turns for settlement to spawn. And now we're going to be doing piety scumming as chaotic. So that's why we murder that hapless townsfolk. And, okay. The plan here is to do shoplifting with an invisibility potion, so that I can get credit to enter Thieves Guild for Detect Traps. Detect Traps comes in handy later on for my strategy for Mana Temple. In this case, I didn't start with Potion Invis. He didn't stock it, so I'm going for a restock right away. Which wastes a little bit of time here, but having more potions is good, so it's not entirely bad. Okay, so we got away with some of actually most of the potions we got away with. So that's definitely going to be enough for entering Thieves Guild. Main potions I'm looking for there are Booze and Boost Mana for wand charging, Invisibility for blinding stuff, and also for later, pretty soon on in this run. Okay, and we got our two companions here for Piety Scumming. We'll need them in HMV. I make the decision not to go back and uncurse that Mithril Shield. That would require going to Lawful and Blessing Water and okay, doing some live sack so that I can bless water. So I decided to just give up the shield. And here I'm carrying around 2 potions of water so that I have unholy water later on. Okay. Up to dusting. Up to smiting. And soon on to summoning. So the idea here is we're making the chaotic god very, very angry. And by extension, that is going to be making the neutral and lawful gods very, very happy. That's how I'm going to get piety for pre-crowns and a bunch of healing prayers and other good stuff. So we set up the waiting companions here so that the greater demons can't get to me. And spend about 200 turns on this. It's slightly faster to turn off dialogue bubbles. It takes a little bit of time. A little bit of extra time for that nice white flashing thing with the deity's dialogue to show up. But I don't really like switching config settings in the middle of runs. So we lose, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds there. Well, but we would have to do configuration switches, so maybe 10 seconds. That's okay. The run's not that tight. So here we go. There's my pre-crowns, Chainmail of the Martyred Crusader, and Boots of the Divine Messenger. Boots are very, very good. Okay, also getting crowned with fire immunity is very, very good for tower. Crowning gift was Robes of Resistance, which overlaps a bit with both the amazing Eternium Chainmail and the Chainmail of the Martyred Crusader. So there I was killing my companion. Basically, I don't want him to run into me in the wilderness a bunch, so just get rid of him. Okay, and now here we need Runecarver Trident to deal with tower, but getting to level 16 is difficult. So first up, we're going to be murdering Monksip. It's a difficult fight. The invis there was so that he doesn't do the summons and doesn't curse me. With neutral, it's a bit awkward. Because sometimes you get cursed from triggering the alarm and sometimes you don't. And removing the curse with a prayer is not a big issue because I've got a ridiculous amount of piety. But if you're not cursed and you pray, then it's an unheard prayer and I lose a bunch of piety. Okay, so we're learning trap detection here. Or trying to learn trap detection here. And our next victim is Barnabas, so checking if he's got any good items first. Okay, some good consumables. And again, use my last invis here. You'd think confusion would be useful for these fights, and it can be useful. The problem with it, though, is that shopkeepers have really high magic resistance, so it's not very reliable. But sometimes you get it, and it makes the fights a bit easier. It tends to not last for their entire health bar, though, which is why I don't bother going for it. Okay, so after those 2 kills, we do hit level 13, so we'll be hitting up Pyramid. And unfortunately, I forgot to level up Detect Traps, so it's still really, really bad. So I think I'm just gonna, at some point, give up on using it and just tank the traps. Or most of them, anyway. So Pyramid is fairly quick, and it does give me Ankh. So Luxort, the potion shopkeeper in Settlement, is the most rewarding in terms of XP, but he's also the most dangerous. So I try to be as strong as possible for that fight. I think as you can tell from the previous 2 fights, fighting shopkeepers is really scary. As they have a lot of attacks, they can blind rage, which gives them even more attacks. The alternative for fast XP to get to level 16 is Darkforge. The issue with that is steel golems are a good deal more durable than shopkeepers. So even with working in Shield of Raw Steel into the route, it's not very pleasant to do Dark Forge, and it's also a bit slower. Though it does give you access to the pools, which is pretty good. So I'm grabbing some boost potions here, and chugging them, so be as strong as possible. It seems like since he detected me in Invis, he'll always do the summon, so I don't bother with trying to avoid the summon on this guy. In this case, we're right next to a choke point. There's only one tile between the exit to the wilderness and the shop. I messed up here. I should not be fighting more than one monster here. Confusion Wave sort of takes some of the pressure off. And there's the Blind Rage. I tend to pray it around like the 60 or lower HP range, which seems to be, well, not exactly reliable, but good enough and to get some runs off the ground, and it doesn't burn through too many prayers or waste too much time. Okay. Next up, making sure Wand of Teleport is charged, so we're going to need to talk to the Great Water Dragon here. One of the reasons to pick Mindcrafter, you don't have to worry about getting teleport control from Blinkdog Corpse or Pre-Crown Gift. In this case, we would have it from Boots of Divine Messenger, but you can just always do this with Mindcrafter. Okay, so talk to her. And if you notice, we did reach level 16 from that last shopkeeper kill. And now we look for Blup. He was cleverly hiding over on the... Actually, I don't remember where he is, but it took a while to find him on this run. There he is. Okay, so we talk to him, tell him about the Water Dragon Cave, and wait. And there we go, we've got Trident delivered by the Water Elemental. And next up is Tower. So okay, yeah, I just noticed that I had the neutral altar here. So I'm gonna be charging up the Wand of Teleport to smooth things out in Tower. And yeah, Blessing Booze so that we get more charges from it. So yeah, this is something I started doing relatively recently with this route, and it really can save you a lot of time in Tower. Tower can be a terrible, terrible place. So we're actually going to be wielding Rune-Covered Trident. It's not too much of a defense drop, if any, from at least with that shield, and it does more damage. We'll be switching to using it as a ranged weapon for the ACW, the Ancient Chaos Worm. But until then, it's my best melee weapon, and I don't want it to fail to return. So here's an instance where you would lose a lot of time if you didn't have Wand of Teleport. But there we go, right to the stairs. So yeah, Fire Elemental, probably the worst monster, as it's not a demon, which gets slain by RCT. It's not something I can confuse because it's unlife. Now in this case, I just decided to fight it. So we are covered on fire resistance, but we're still taking damage because we're Drakeling and we're cold-blooded. But the flip side is I've got a ton of speed, which makes Tower much, much easier. Okay, good layout here. We don't have to worry about any tension rooms or threat rooms, which can slow you down on the 4th level. And unfortunately, it's not something Wand of Teleport can fix because this is a no teleport level. So yeah, right now I am determining the height which I need to move to. I want 8 tiles away from the bottom of the screen, or sorry, the very bottom that I can move my cursor to. and that's lined up with the Ancient Chaos Worm. And also it avoids the elemental rooms on the top and bottom. So I throw out a Mind Blast there to wake up the Ring of Fire Drakes around ACW. And now we move on to meleeing stuff until he decides to walk into the hallway. I think there has to be a somewhat better way to do this, maybe falling back a bit further into the hallway. But I end up taking a bunch of extra time fighting elementals here. Really, you'd rather ACW just comes out immediately and you can start throwing Trident at him. I didn't get any chance to increase willpower. Sometimes you can get lucky with Morgia patches in UD or the early Caverns of Chaos levels and have a bit better time here. Or get an artifact from pre-crowning or crowning that helps here. In this case, I'm going to get confused a good deal because I only have 16 willpower. Thankfully, the level 6 Mindcrafter class power makes the duration not too bad. Plus, we are very fast, so we're not going to get wrecked too hard by it. So now, finally, ACW has gone out into the hallway. You can start throwing the rune-covered trident at him. So, unfortunately, while it does do a ton of damage to him, he's got a lot of DV, so kind of just waiting for the lucky hits. So here we've got Fire Giant King sneaking up on me, which is pretty scary. Thankfully, he can be confused, and he's going to stumble back a bit. But you really do not want to be next to ACW when you've got only 26 PV. Another side effect to the high speed is that it's virtually impossible for him to hit me with energy blasts. I do have alertness as well, which helps. So between those two things, really don't have to worry about energy blasts, which is nice. It's definitely a problem if you're doing a non-Drakeling run. Okay, so teleports out to speed things up a bit. And now we are reunited with our pile of junk. And go ahead and equip Orb of Fire for that strength bonus. I should probably know that the first stack is Unholy Water because I got it pretty early. But I didn't think of that. Items in your inventory are generally, in the same category, are generally ordered by when they were generated. Okay, so here we hit up Arena for the last fight. I'm going to get Golden Gladius. And actually the split here is when I turn in Golden Gladius to the Veteran. Okay, avoid that Lightning Vortex explosion. Okay, and the re-equipping stuff. It seems I actually went through and didn't equip Ankh until now. A bit of a mistake that I managed to survive. Okay, so big room. You could take some time to get Morgia here. I guess I get a couple. But I'll also be visiting Fungal Caves, so I'm not going to be spending any extra time farming here. Okay, and there's the sea level. At this point, we really have very little use for gold, and we've got a pretty good supply from the 3 dead shopkeepers, so not going to pick up the strange item. Okay, and now when we arrive in Dwarf Town, immediately teleport into the Mystic's room. Mystic is always generated on that square, so as long as there isn't a random townsfolk in there with him, that teleport will always work. Otherwise, he'll be wandering around, and there's a 1 in 4 chance your teleport lands on him, and then you waste a teleportation charge. Okay, so picking up some fairly useful stuff there. More wand recharging. And now I'm going to try to figure out which of my remaining potions is unholy water by sell value. So 12 gold pieces, very low. That is the unholy water. So we'll preserve that. Okay, next up. Going to get Portal Quest for the extra holy water. But we're not going to go back up. We're just going to Acid Spit him. Acid Spit checks PV, and Thunder has 100 PV, so he's never going to get damage from that. Which means that the alarm in Dwarf Town doesn't get triggered. It's just him that gets angry, and then he walks off the lever and you flip it. So there, we're picking up Tactics and Backstabbing from Grizzled Gladiator. I did drink a couple boost learning potions to increase the initial value of Tactics that we get. Honestly, those skills aren't terribly important, but you really don't lose too much time from doing the arena fights. So next item we're going for... Oh, well, okay. Before there, we got a figurine shop. I don't have the money for figurines, so I'm going to try an invis robbing. Figurines are normally not very useful, but they are useful for putting companions on the D50 levers. And normally you just use bunny summoning and Wand of Door creation for that. But there's no guarantee with these speedruns that you're going to have Wand of Door creation. So figurines are just more reliable there. So now we're doing Fungal Caves. It's going to give me a bit of Morgia to increase willpower and toughness. And also the stuff the Overlord drops is can be quite helpful. So the main things you're looking for are corruption removal. In this case, I got corruption removal from the Dwarven Mystic, so I'm not hurting for that. But corruption removal, mushrooms of purity, mushrooms of ecstasy are very helpful, especially for fighting Chaos Archmage. And then mushrooms of resilience, increasing PV, are just overall good. I'm actually not looking for mushrooms of the inner light, the skill increase plus spell knowledge ones. This is an interesting quirk that you can only get prayers for power points when you have knowledge in spells. And I'm going to be wanting some prayers for light instead of prayers for PowerPoint restoration in Mana Temple. You'd think it would be very useful to have the PowerPoint restore prayers available, but unfortunately, that prayer doesn't really care about how many PowerPoints you have missing. So like if you have 78 out of 79, you're eligible for it. Okay, so one of the reasons it's nice to start with Scroll of Identify. You know what your ID scrolls are, and you can see what the mushrooms are and what other nonsense you're carrying. So I'm going to be dropping some things. So there you go, the corruption removal scrolls from the Mystic, briefly on screen. And we got 2 ecstasy shrooms and 2 purity shrooms. A very good result. Ecstasy, probably the most important of the mushrooms that you're looking for. Just because the speed boost is a huge help for Nergi, and if you get into trouble on D50, it's also very helpful there. Or really anywhere. 300 or 200 to 300 extra speed for a brief moment, a brief few moments is very strong. Okay, so next up I'm going to get a little bit annoyed by the layout of this level. There's some secret doors, I'm just going to use a teleport. First, use mouse over glitch to find an open spot, and I get very, very lucky there. So there's Kelly. And at this point, I'm just realizing again that I have Boots the Divine Messenger, as I forgot, and I was picking up other shoes, but yes. We're not going to find any better shoes than those. Well, Boots of the Far Wanderer are maybe worth considering, but those don't drop in this run. Okay, I think at this point I'm actually overtraining with Morgia Roots my toughness, so I didn't really need to eat that corpse. But it could have given me the strength increase straight away. I was thinking my last wand was Wand of Digging, but I actually picked up a wand of Ball Lightning after the Wand of Digging from Kelly. So thankfully I do have shock resistance from Robes of Resistance. Those give all of the resists except for cold. And so here, I'm praying for a few extra pickaxes, so I dropped all my stuff, so I'm eligible for the pickaxe prayers. Pickaxes can come in handy, well, in all the temples, and also on D50. And you can't pray for pickaxes on D50. So good to get a few extras beforehand, even if it costs some piety. But we have a lot of piety to work with still. Here we go, our second Orb Guardian. Easier than ACW, but we're not 300 speed. Turned on Mental Shield there. It's a Mindcraft power that increases your DV and PV. You can actually confuse Snake from Beyond, and it does have 0 magic resistance. But then it's stumbling around, and it's not that tough to melee, so I prefer to just fight him honorably. Well, as long as I'm not getting my butt kicked. So antidote there to clear out the poison. Okay, it was worth a try. Pixie Corpse sometimes gives you teleportitis, and although it is a more useful intrinsic while you're backtracking, it can save you time exploring the level. So it's possible to skip getting Beeswax. Banshee is coming up soon. It's possible to skip it and get past her using teleportation. Of course, it's a good deal less stressful if you do have the Beeswax to make yourself deaf. So in this case, I didn't lose too much time. And there's Eyes of the Mind. I'm actually a bit higher level than I'm used to at this point. Often I'm only level 17 here. But it's useful on levels like this and the Eternal Guardian level where there's a monster that's always on the stairs, so that tells you where the stairs are. And also just in general, it helps you avoid nasty surprises from tension rooms and threat rooms, which can otherwise get you into trouble and lose time. Okay, and also, yeah, if there's a vault on the level, that gives you a better idea of where the stairs are. Stairs will never be generated inside a vault. So the next big feature in Caverns of Chaos is the Eternal Guardian on D29, next level. Again, we don't have time for getting Ring of the High Kings on a speedrun, so we're going to be teleporting past him. Another reason that Mindcrafter is great for speedruns, you don't have to come up with some really sketchy plan to sneak past him with speed boosting or confusing him or blinding him. So there we go. He knew where he was and where the stairs were from Eyes of the Mind. Aggro him with a rock and then teleport past once he steps off the stairs. Our second bookshop of the game. And yeah, generally books are not so useful for Mindcrafter. They can bookcast alright, but they can't learn from them. So despite being sort of a casty class, those shops are not of any use. So one terrible mistake you can make on D32, which doesn't happen in this run, thankfully, is taking the upstairs to Darkforge. Since the Troll Guardian was not dealt with peacefully, I wouldn't be able to return down through there. So we're only going to be using those stairs for the escape. Oh, okay. And here I'm trying to be smart with... oh, okay. It's just a random teleport. Okay. I tried to be smart, but... Okay, a good first corruption. Acid Blood gives you immunity to acid, and also sometimes blinds people that damage you in melee. Alright, here we have the Battle Bunny level, dealt with either digging or teleport, or else you're going to have to deal with a ton of spawning bunnies. Okay, Eyes of the Mind again, useful for detecting Cat Lord. So about that Wand of Bunny summoning, that's sort of my default method for dealing with the D50 levers. Leave a Battle Bunny on the levers. In this case, it wasn't really necessary to pick it up because I've got the figurines. Okay, the Caverns of Chaos Cavernous level. Can lose a good deal of time there. Went pretty smoothly in this run. And next up we have Air Temple, which Mindcrafter is... hey, yet another reason to play Minecraft for the speedrun. So the plus side there is that you can confuse the Master Summoner without opening up the temple, and also monsters can't summon while they're confused. So while it's not going to be the absolute fastest air temple, we're going to have to end up killing a lot of elementals. It is going to be not possible for good old Ilgash to throw a wrench in the works with summoning Quickling Queens or Emperor Liches or whatever else awful. Often I like to use Wand of Digging here. Speed things up, not risk the pickaxes. In this case, I only have one Wand of Digging, so yeah, that's the more valuable commodity. Okay, so drop the pickaxes there, and start clearing out the outer monsters. I don't really want them to be interfering while I'm fighting the stuff inside. But actually carrying around the pickaxes might have been good. So one thing you can get into trouble with is in elemental temples is you pray and you get a pickaxe when you don't really need one. In this case, I went back and picked up one of the pickaxes just so I didn't get another pickaxe prayer. And that's one of the prayers you have to be somewhat careful about how many you use, as it is one of the more expensive ones. Aside from, well, pre-crowning and crowning. Okay, so here we are, using Confusion Blast through the wall. And thankfully the duration of Confusion stacks. So he's going to be confused for a really long time. And is not going to recover. Okay, in this case, this is a little bit rough. He wandered outside of temple. That would have been fine if he wasn't confused, but since he was, it complicates things. So I'm going to have to kill some extra monsters, perhaps. Luckily, he doesn't wander too far afield. If he had gone behind Air Temple, we would have lost a lot more time. But actually, he just wandered back into Air Temple. In that case, I didn't have a pickaxe, but I was low enough health that I got Healing Prayer anyway. And Frost Giant attempting to kill Steel there. Not successful. Oh, and I forget my pickaxes. I think it ends up not mattering because D50 was undiggable. But I tend to do that a lot when I drop stuff on air tempo level, just forget to pick it up again. Okay, Earth Temple. There we go. Eyes of the Mind alerting me to the presence of that tension room up there, which I'm going to forget about after I finish Earth Temple. But for the moment, it's good to not open that. So, Karmic Dragons, no magic resistance, one of the candidates for Mind Blast. Though probably I should have confused him, so to cut down on the breath attacks, and then maybe thrown some rocks. Oh well. So here I'm checking whether this adamantium ring is, I think I check at this point, whether it increases my damage or not. It wasn't usable, so I know it's not Ring of Genie summoning. But in this case, it didn't increase my damage, so that was Ring of Fire. The one bad adamantium ring. Okay, here I'm checking for trap detection. So basically, I don't like to search where that water trap is to find the trap to the right of it, because that's guaranteed to open up the second elemental room. Okay, and walking further here is risky, but it does tend to get the Ancient Stone Beast into melee range faster, so I can kill it. It's a bit of a sketchy situation. I'm going to start using Orb of Fire to clear out the monsters around me. Even without the Elemental Gauntlets to reduce the corruption from Orb activations, the Orb of Fire is not that costly to use. You can use it quite a few times without getting a corruption. Okay, blessing my extra healing here. Running out of healing prayers is definitely a concern. In this case, the run got pretty good items, so I didn't do any extra unheard prayers or excessive prayers for pickaxes, so I'm not going to run out. But if you do run out, that means your deity could be on the way to dusting your equipment or cursing all of it, which would be really bad. So, good to save some prayers with potions of extra healing if you can. Oh, I think I missed picking up that pickaxe from good old Dwarven Chaos Knight. Oh, and at this point in the run, my split switched to tracking against some of best for some reason, which is why I'm suddenly behind. Okay, so Greater Moloch. I was torn on whether to fight this guy. Melee would have been a bit painful, perhaps, but okay. We've got RCT. It's a demon, so I'll get some extra XP. And yeah, you can lose a lot of time on horizontal shifting levels, especially if the stairs are on the shifting portion. We don't get that unlucky this run, thankfully. But yeah, do lose a bit of time here exploring more than we normally would. Okay, yes, thankfully, stairs are there. Okay, there's the Greater Vault. Giants, you would maybe consider ninjing artifacts with invisibility and just swapping to the artifacts. Ancient Red Dragons have See Invisible, though, so not worth messing with a Greater Vault on a speedrun. At least that Greater Vault on a speedrun. Yeah, and one of the corruptions we picked up from using Orb of Fire was Teleportitis, the Astral Planes. Oops, I was thinking the stairs might be up there, but there actually is not a hallway there. It's a little bit of a weird layout. Often when you see a tension room, you expect that the stairs are going to be behind it. In this case, they weren't, though. And also I failed to point out that Greater Vault, I think, was on D46, and the stairs to well will never be on the same level as a Greater Vault. So that told me which out of D46 and D47 I needed to go to find the second staircase. Well, in this case, I found the UL stairs were just the first ones I found. But that's something to keep in mind if you get Greater Vault on D46 or D47. Here we have a Kirin. I'm a little bit worried about the alignment drop, so I don't kill it. It probably would have been fine to kill. And I am safe from the death rays because I have Boots of the Divine Messenger. Okay, and here we are at Mana Temple. It's pretty much exactly where you want the stairs to be. Maybe a little bit further to the right. But like this, I can just dig to Mana Temple, and there's no rooms, no tension rooms, no threat rooms in between. And there's also not going to be too many wandering monsters to mess with me because I haven't explored much of the level. Okay, so here I dropped the stuff that I'm going to need to cheese D50 with. So I don't have door creation. The figurines, the pickaxes. So I do have detect traps here, but still you can accidentally trigger a ceiling trap and lose a bunch of stuff. Okay, so blessing my ecstasy and cursing my invisibility potions. This is why I wanted unholy water, and be using those cursed invis potions as potions of blindness to blind Nergi here. And this is the main reason I picked up detect traps. Not actually because I'm worried about tanking the traps or the item destruction, but because there's a particular location or sets of locations where alarm trap can show up that can speed up Mana Temple immensely. So you can have a really bad Mana Temple. So there we go, I triggered that alarm trap. A really bad Mana Temple if Nergi just decides he doesn't want to go out and fight you, and you can just go through the million other monsters and the summoners, and yeah. But triggering an alarm trap around that spot on both of the horizontal hallways tends to result in him coming out to fight you quickly. So you can see he's already casting Confusion, which is a good sign. And here I'm switching over to Chainmail of the Martyred Crusader. He got my gauntlets. Just one PV, that's okay. So yes, extra willpower from this. Also, it's debatably going to be better for the rest of the run, because it gives increased power point regeneration, which means I can keep up Mental Shield considerably longer than I would be able to otherwise. So eventually the cost of that goes down to 2 power points per turn, and you can keep it up for quite a bit if you've got the extra power point regen. So now I'm risking a few traps to drag him back to where I want to fight. Basically avoid him stumbling back into the main room. You eat the Mushroom of Ecstasy here to make the fight easier. Yeah, and I'm switching to tiles for a brief moment because there's a little icon that shows up above his health bar when he's blinded. And otherwise I'd have to wait a turn to see whether he staggers. But there we go. With the help of Mushroom of Ecstasy, quite an easy fight. Well, blindness helped as well. Unfortunately, Mushroom of Ecstasy does reduce your learning. So the reason I start with 6 learning is because that's the break point for knowing the number of charges that are on wands, being able to count. And unfortunately, I'm no longer able to count, which is going to complicate things a bit. Oops, that was an accidental prayer for pickaxe. I didn't really want that. I guess that's an argument for carrying 1 pickaxe, and I'll have to keep that in mind if I do more speedruns. Okay, and I did get Mana Battery. Thankfully, I had all my wands in inventory, so I didn't actually drain anything. They're just showing up with no charges or no charge number because I'm too stupid to count. So I'm going to be a little bit liberal with the recharging, so I don't wrench Wand of Teleport on accident. So now all that's left is D50 pretty much. Well, we do also have to deal with the anomalies on D48, well, and also the cold on D49. And unfortunately, my Wand of Digging got destroyed at some point around here. Probably to a Monotemple trap. That I definitely should have dropped outside of Monotemple. It's just as fragile, if not more fragile, than pickaxes. Okay, a little bit of a weird stair location there. One nice thing about Telekinetic Blast, if a door is trapped and you use Telekinetic Blast on it, it's just destroyed. And the trap isn't triggered. So you can use it to avoid door traps that way. It's actually a little bit annoying that it doesn't destroy the door if it's locked and not trapped. Kind of weird, but still useful for avoiding those trap doors. Okay, maggots, normally a corruption you don't like to see, and in this case I am going to remove it. It can be useful though for just getting companions on D50, as the worms spawned from it can just wait on the, you can order them to wait on the levers and cheese D50 that way. In this case, I've got figurines. I'm also blessing the figurines, so you need them to be blessed for the monster that's produced to be a companion. And I'm thinking maybe I'll run into problems with poison hands later on, so bless them now while I can. Though I think I just got thick gauntlets from that Chaos Warrior. Werewolf King, a very scary monster, so definitely one you want to use Confusion on. And I think I finished him off with Mind Blast there. Okay. So here I don't want to switch on Ring of Ice for fireproofing. And this activation does cause fire damage, so one, I'm going to unequip Ring of the Master Cat, but two, drop everything so it's not subject to fire damage. And then the Master Cat ring I took off just in case there's a cat on the level that gets killed by the Fire Orb activation. I don't want the ring to explode. And as long as the cat murder happens when I'm not wearing the ring, I get to keep the ring. Okay, now I'm realizing that I don't have any Wand of Digging. Which means D49 is going to be a bit awkward. I don't have Potion of Uselessness either for the free artifact. So we're going to have to go the long way around. You could also try digging with pickaxes, but digging that way takes multiple turns and also takes more real time. So since it's not really clear that it would save any turns and we're going to have our speed tanked anyway, I just go the long way around. If you have a longer range weapon, it's not that bad, but I don't. Okay, so I'm going to wait up here for a while, try to get speed back, since that's the other side of cold blood, as you do get slowed down by low temperatures. Okay, and now I'm going to try to dig to the left side of the level. And we switched over to Cornucopia. Finally, we got rid of all of our other tools on D48 with the anomalies. So yeah, unfortunately, D50 is kind of random. Sometimes the left side of the level will be diggable, and you can skip the rooms with the big rooms of Chaos Mutants and the room with Writhing Masses. And sometimes it's undiggable. And in this case, it's undiggable, so I'm going to lose some time here fighting through this big group of monsters. And another thing is I don't have ones of door creation either. So that's a way you can avoid fighting the two Chaos Mutant rooms to the top and bottom. We'll be seeing them soon here. Yeah, those rooms you can close off with Wands of Door Creation if you have them. Chaos Mutants are not able to break down locked doors, so that saves a good deal of fighting. Also, Chaos Mutants are one of the scarier monsters here. One of the more damaging ones. So Writhing Masses might have more attacks, and they might slow you, but they don't crit you for so much damage. But anyway, I'll be holding down direction, playing as fast as I can to get through these guys. Normally, well, I won't say normally. Maybe half the time you'd be able to skip this. But not on this run. But it's okay. We've got plenty of healing prayers. We'll be able to get through all right. I think at this point I got scared by how low health I was getting and started playing a little bit more carefully. Okay. A very double-edged corruption there. I take it off because I don't want the strength penalty. It's a bit worse if the strength penalty causes you to become more burdened, as then you're losing part of the benefit, the extra speed. Okay, but now we're on to the monsters that we normally would be starting with here. Here's where I maybe should have considered using Mushroom of Ecstasy. I used it a little bit later on, but this is the more difficult of the two rooms. So there's a sort of similar room to this on the bottom of the level with the second lever, and it's actually smaller than the top one. That's a weird quirk that this game has with levels that are sort of symmetrical. Usually there's a bit of an imbalance instead of it being completely symmetrical. Okay, we got past the first group of Chaos Mutants here. Well, I guess the third group, if we're counting the first two rooms. And picked up a hat upgrade from those Chaos Warriors. Okay, so the first lever. You could put your companion on it immediately, but companions have a chance to become hostile randomly when they're not in your line of sight. So although it's not that likely that I would get messed up by that, I am gonna end up using an extra teleport to try to minimize that possibility. We just got a Ring of Genie Summoning, and that's what sort of prompted me to eat the Mushroom of Ecstasy. I remembered I had it, and then I'm going to use the Ring of Genie Summoning to wish for speed. So we're just going to be super, super fast for this last room. Again, it might have been better to use this power boost on the first room because it's a bit more difficult. But okay, it's going to get me through these monsters in relative safety. Okay, so second lever. So now that I've flipped both levers, I can't walk that far away to the right, or else Balors will come back and flip them back open. So we're going to try to prevent that by having companions stand to the levers. In this case, we were lucky enough to have those figurines from that earlier shop. So okay, so it's actually important here to teleport and not walk to this lever to prevent Balors from teleporting. Okay, finally got that guy to wait, and we're out. And still don't have Wand of Digging, so it's going to be the long way back as well here. It's okay. It's fairly fast. Okay, we ran out of rocks. Back to rune-covered trident. So since it returns, we're not going to have the running out of ammunition problem, as long as I don't throw it into a wall. If you throw a returning missile into a wall, it will not return. And actually, my speed is still boosted from the Speed Wish plus Mushroom of Ecstasy, so I'm not waiting for the cold penalty to wear off from D49. So again, I don't know how many charges this wand of teleport has because the character is too stupid, so I'm just making sure it has enough. 3 boost mana potions plus whatever else will mean I've got enough to just teleport out. At least for all teleport out of all the levels that allow teleportation. So nice that Catler level had such a good stairs layout, since it is also a no teleport level like the elemental temples. Okay, moving my mouse over there just in case I get control to teleport here. I'll know where to target it. In this case, I'm just satisfied with this teleport. We'll have to fight some steel golems, but alright. I'm a bit slow as my temporary speed boost wore off. Okay, and a good layout for the upper level of Darkforge. Probably it would be better to visit that just while I'm on the surface for the first time. And there we go. I panicked a bit and skipped past the summary, but there we are. 106.18.